This was the 17th time Judy complained about the spoiled rich kid funding her project. You don't know how capricious he can be. I decided to break up. Despite her words of disdain, her eyes held a soft smile I'd never seen before. A genius physicist and an arrogant rich kid. They seemed like a perfect match, as if they walked out of a novel. As Judy's first love and childhood friend, I felt more out of place than ever. Once my defense was over, I thanked my advisor and called my girlfriend, Judy. Today was the day of my dissertation defense, and it was also my birthday. Judy promised she'd show up to support me, but she didn't keep her word. When I called her, a stranger's voice answered. Hi, Judy went backstage to grab my clothes. What do you need her for? My grip on the phone tightened. His voice was familiar and casual. It was that spoiled rich kid Judy mentioned over and over. Before I could say anything, someone took his phone, and a voice as cold as ice came through. Eric, I told you don't touch my phone. Tightwad. Wait till I talk to my dad about cutting your budget. Childish. I took a deep breath. Judy. The person on the other line seemed to finally recognize it was me and mumbled a quick apology. Mark, I'm sorry I couldn't make it to your lecture. I wanted to hear her explanation for not showing up. She had never broken a promise before. This was a first. But loud applause and Eric's excited, anxious voice interrupted. Hurry up. Hurry up. They're calling my name. Gonna get my award. Make sure you get some good pics of me. Okay? Or else. Judy's voice, unusually cheerful, cracked through like breaking ice. You look the way you do. What good can a photo do? I'd pulled a few all-nighters prepping for my defense, exhausted myself, and declined my roommate's invite to celebrate my birthday. Tired and alone, I wanted to say something, but cheers erupted from the other end of the line. Everyone was celebrating Eric's dance championship, including my girlfriend, Judy. After hanging up that day, Judy didn't come looking for me. Not that I was surprised. She was always busy, lost in her research, distant from reality. Usually, I found her in the library, reminding her to eat. She'd look up from her pile of papers and give me the faintest smile. Thanks, Mark. Judy was always cool and aloof, like thin, brittle ice in the dead of winter. I used to think I was special to her. My early life was rough. Dad cheated and was abusive, and my usually gentle mom lost her patience. When he tried to lay hands on me, she grabbed a knife and severed his neck, barricaded me outside, and burned the hell she lived in. I was passed around like a hot potato among relatives until Judy's mom, a close friend of my mom, took me in. At my mom's funeral, she sobbed, told her not to marry that creep, but she didn't listen. Now I gotta take care of her kid. Living in her home, I didn't want to be a burden. I kept to myself, solved everything alone. I never mentioned being bullied at school. Not until one day, Judy witnessed an escalated bullying incident, sparked by my last-ditch resistance. Mark, you're just like your mom. A criminal. You little brat. So hot-headed. Can't take a bit of teasing. Are you gonna kill me too? Judy, always buried in books, suddenly snapped them shut. To everyone's shock, she punched the leading bully in the face. Her voice like ice. Say that again? They didn't dare mess with the principal and teacher's prodigy. And they left me alone after that. I cried into her shoulder, drenching 3 of her shirts. She sighed, patting my back soothingly. But I didn't enjoy her protection for long. She entered the youth program at North Tech at 12. At 17, she received a full scholarship to a top university for a PhD in physics. At 18, with a birthday cake, she told me her greatest wish was to be with me. I couldn't have imagined then that she would one day look so softly when she mentioned Eric. I burnt midnight oil for my graduation, studying relentlessly. Judy met me once, unusually bringing a classy late-night meal. Eric says these are trendy. I don't get it, but I brought it for you anyway. Surprised, I paused, spoon hanging in midair. It was the first time in over a decade Judy mentioned another guy. Who's Eric? I asked, taken aback. Suddenly, Judy, usually reserved, chatted endlessly. She ranted about how spoiled this Eric kid was. But because his father was the project sponsor, She had to tolerate him. Mark, you have no idea. He barely got any sun and already cried about sunburn. Who gets sunburned that easily? It's scientifically impossible. I forced a smile, pretending not to notice her eyes flashing with admiration when talking about his dance skills. But denial was futile. We rarely met as is, and since she met Eric, every meeting she'd talk about him. And this delicate guy? He could endure any hardship when it came to dance. Mark, I think I've started seeing him in a new light. Finally, unable to hold back, I frowned. With your talent, do you really need to hang out with the sponsor's kid constantly? Is he forcing you to keep him company? Or do you actually want to? Judy, not good with social stuff, was taken aback. After a long pause, she spoke quietly. Mark, if you don't like him, I'll stop talking about him. She extended an olive branch, promised to attend my defense, and mentioned a birthday surprise for me. But I didn't see her. All I got was a bouquet. The handwriting on the card isn't hers, and the name signed at the bottom is Eric. I didn't want to deal with Eric's provocations, so I tossed the flowers and the card into the trash. I arranged to meet Judy at a coffee shop, planning to get everything out in the open. Sorry, Mark. I didn't mean to miss it, but Eric really needed me, she said, looking at me with calm yet resigned eyes. He sprained his ankle before the big competition and begged me to help him through it. He said only with me there could he find the courage to win. I stayed silent. The waiter stopped by to take our order. Judy ordered 2 coffees and a slice of chestnut cake. I slowly looked up at her, finally speaking. Judy, I'm allergic to chestnuts. For a moment, she seemed taken aback. In the many years we've spent living together, chestnuts were never on the menu. So why did she so naturally order chestnut cake for someone sitting across from her? Unless someone loves chestnut cake. And that someone isn't me. Judy, do you know? That day I was really drained. I never imagined you wouldn't show. When I finally finished my defense and took a breath of relief, I looked around, but you were nowhere to be found. Do you know how that made me feel? You could have at least given me a heads up. Judy sighed. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Mark, you're not one to fuss over trivial things. I looked at her, barely holding back a smile that felt more like tears. Desperate times or a drifting heart? Judy, can you really say you have no regrets? Judy pressed her lips together, not speaking. Felt so futile. I let out a deep sigh. Judy, maybe it's better if we break up. Judy suddenly froze. I thought it was because of what I said. But no, she was staring past me. I turned to look. A sunny young man walked in with a handsome guy in a suit. Judy, what are you doing here? And you must be Mark, right? What a coincidence. It was Eric. He wore a bright and open grin. When Judy saw him, her eyes lit up with joy, but it was quickly replaced by a nearly imperceptible jealousy. She took my hand, possibly out of some uncertainty, and said, "Meet my boyfriend, Mark." I wanted no part in this charade with Judy, yet I still needed to visit her mom. Her mom's an old friend of my mom and basically raised me. I'm deeply grateful to her. No matter what happens between Judy and me, it won't change my feelings toward her mom. She smiled and asked about my graduation plans and when Judy and I would get married. I was dumbstruck. Clearly, Judy hadn't told her anything about us breaking up. Before I could say a word, the door opened and Judy walked in. She pulled me aside, wanting to talk seriously. Mark, are you still mad? You shouldn't have left without a word or ignored my calls. Even if you were angry. Don't you know how worried I was? She continued. When you left suddenly, Eric felt embarrassed, thinking he affected our relationship. I stared directly into her eyes and asked, "Didn't he?" She paused for a moment. Of course not. Why would I like him? He's so self-centered. How could I ever give up years of being with you for him? I suddenly laughed. So, Judy, am I just a tool in your complicated romance now? Are you unable to admit you love him enough to leave your longtime boyfriend behind? You act close to me in front of him just to make him jealous. I shut my eyes. Judy, you really let me down. Sensing something, Judy reached for my arm. Mark, it's not what you think. I brushed her hand away. How isn't it? Would 18-year-old Judy have left me behind on my birthday? breaking her promise? That year, I studied hard to keep up with Judy, while she was busy in a city's best university, working on projects nonstop. Her mom mentioned she was so overwhelmed her health took a toll, nearly bedridden. But on my birthday, she traveled all the way back, borrowed a school uniform to blend in, stood in front of me after evening class with a birthday cake, drawing all the guys' attention. Tired eyes, pale face, yet her smile was surprisingly warm. "Mark, happy birthday. Wishing you peace and success," she said. I once thought she was the only family I had. I could hold her hand and walk through life. But she let go, holding another boy's hand instead. Judy started to speak, as if to explain, but then Eric called. Once again, she left. The bar noise buzzed on the other end of the call, Eric's voice as clear as water. "Judy, can you come get me? I don't want to marry the business arrangement. I really miss you, Judy." I watched as Judy's eyes softened, an inch at a time. "Okay." Her voice was gentle, like she feared waking something. She hung up, looking apologetically at me. Couldn't help but scoff. "Go on, rich boy's waiting." Judy frowned. "Mark, it's not what you think." But she left anyway without hesitation. Her parting words were, "I'll explain later." "Judy, don't you understand? The moment you chose Eric, there was no later for us." Her mom seemed to sense something was off and asked what was happening with Judy and me. I was in no shape to answer and mumbled about how my professor was supportive as I was heading abroad for further studies. She seemed to realize something, looking at me with worry. "Mark, prioritize your future. I love and support you always, just like your parents would." I quickly took my leave, scared my tears would fall in front of her. Back at my dorm, I threw myself into preparing for studying abroad. The academic systems abroad and at home differ quite a bit. I buried myself in foreign literature, filling every minute. Maybe it would ease the pain. It wasn't until a roommate invited me to a graduation dinner that I stepped out again. On the road, they started gossiping. "Did you guys hear about that famous genius from our school? Word is, she got into a bar fight for the heartthrob from the media school next door." I stopped in my tracks. "That famous physics whiz, Judy, right? I know her. I heard she's actually engaged to the heartthrob." Judy and I have been together for years, but my family's background is a bit complicated. She gets a lot of attention too. Even in a top-tier school like ours, overflowing with superstars, Judy shines the brightest. Everyone notices her every move. To keep things low-key, we've never announced our relationship. So I was shocked to hear rumors about her love life, but not with me, with Eric. "Hey Mark, weren't you and Judy classmates? No insider info?" I shook my head, feigning ignorance. But Judy's mom soon called my phone, sounding worried. "Mark, I've heard Judy's in trouble. Can you check on her for me?" Whether I liked it or not, I couldn't refuse her request. I had to go to Judy's apartment to make sure she was okay. Just as I unlocked the door, I bumped into a drop-dead gorgeous face. Eric was momentarily stunned, then smiled. "Hey Mark, you're here?" I was worried I'd have to care for Judy alone. I ignored him, sidestepped into the room. I took out the medicine I'd bought and helped the injured, feverish Judy on the bed take it. Then I wrote a note and handed it to Eric. "Judy's not in good health and has a sensitive constitution. Strong medication will worsen her condition. By the meds listed here, it'll help you care for her." Eric's expression suddenly shifted. "Are you here to show off?" I looked at him coldly. "So you know you're the third wheel?" Maybe he's not used to someone being so blunt. Frustrated, he sputtered, "You." I pushed past him and left without looking back. Though I tried not to focus on Judy's affairs, the rumors kept reaching me. My roommate said she's getting closer to that rich kid. The guy's the media school's heartthrob, already got some fame as an online influencer. Paparazzi snapped them kissing under fireworks at night. The internet was swamped with their news. Someone dug up Judy's background. A genius physics student, always shining bright, perfectly matched with the charming, sentimental rich kid, like leads straight out of a romance novel. Wow, who knew Judy was so romantic? My fingers paused over the keyboard. Romantic? I didn't ponder long as Judy's mom called again, saying she saw the reports. Mark, I'm sorry. Judy's my kid. I understand her. She's emotionally oblivious. I was worried she'd end up hurting you. Didn't expect my fears would come true. I'm sorry. I unconsciously clenched my hands, holding back from crying. It's fine, Auntie. No matter what happens between me and Judy, you're someone I cherish. Besides, I'm leaving for abroad soon. I won't have many chances to see her in the future. Please don't worry about me. After hanging up, I sat there for a long time, lost. At night, my roommate exclaimed while packing. Huh? Look, Judy's downstairs by our dorm. I peeked out. Judy stood leaning against the sycamore tree, wearing a white shirt, seemingly waiting for someone. As soon as she saw me, she asked urgently, "You're going abroad? Why didn't you tell me? Is it because of me and Eric?" I can explain. You're mistaken. Eric didn't want to marry his family's arranged fiancée. He asked me to pretend to be his girlfriend to scare off suitors. There's nothing between us. I looked at her. Going abroad was my plan all along. I told you about it. Back then you said you'd go with me to study string theory in the same country. But now? I smiled wryly. Maybe you've got more important things now. Judy bit her lip, looking at me, eyes full of unease. I took a deep breath, met her eyes. Pretend to be his girlfriend? That need a bar fight with his fiancée? Kissing under fireworks? Judy, I haven't heard from you in so long. Did you ever think of calling me? You didn't. You were too caught up in your love game with him. Judy, I liked you, but I'm no fool. Spare me the nonsense. As roommates moved out, I was also getting ready to shift to a new place before departing. Judy tried reaching out often, but I didn't want to get involved again. One day, she invited me and Eric to meet at a cafe, wanting to set things straight. I wanted to end this drama, so I agreed. Eric spilled everything about his family's engagement and how he asked Judy to act as his girlfriend. Mark, I never thought it'd affect your relationship, he said, hands clasped, red-eyed, looking pitiful. Judy softly reassured him. I felt drained. While Judy went to the restroom, Eric pushed a ring box towards me. Inside was a blood diamond, worth a fortune. Mark, take this diamond as an apology gift. But my parents' wedding rings featured a blood diamond. That man put on a romantic act, nearly bankrupting himself for a grand wedding, buying an extravagant blood diamond to symbolize their love. He fooled my mom into marrying him. Then she discovered he was a monster. He gambled, drank, lost everything. When Mom tried talking sense into him, he turned violent. In my memory, a bruised mom always stared at that vibrant red as she cried. Until my birthday came. He threw my cake in my face, cursed me out. Mom snapped, killing him, then pushed me out, setting the house ablaze. I could see my mom's tears and the ring in the fire that looked like blood from across the flames. That's my eternal nightmare. Eric grinned at me and said, I heard from Judy about your parents, so I picked a similar ring for you to make up for your childhood trauma. So what do you think? Do you like it? I watched his lips move, feeling a chill run through my body. I never imagined Judy would tell him this. She knew it was my deepest scar. I stood up, grabbed the iced coffee from the table, and threw it at her face. Eric probably didn't expect this reaction from me. Stunned, he froze as the coffee drenched him. Mark, what are you doing? Judy rushed forward to shield Eric in panic. Shaking with rage, I tossed another cup of coffee out. The cup hit Judy's head and coffee splattered all over both of them. What am I doing? My mom's a murderer. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So how good can I be? I watched Eric sitting there frozen, while Judy looked at me like she didn't recognize me. Eric, if you want to steal her, go ahead. Just don't bring my mom into it. No matter how powerful you are, you only have one life. It's not worth it for something like this. I picked up the ring from the table, tossed it to the ground, and said, Judy, you make me sick. I thought even if there wasn't love, there'd still be years of friendship. But I never expected you'd use my painful past to please another man. Letting him use it to hurt me, turning it into a dagger plunged into my heart. Suddenly, like flies to a wound, paparazzi rushed out of the restaurant corner and started snapping shots wildly. Rumors spread online, and my family history became the talk of the town. Now I'm not just the son of a murderer. I'm also a shameless person who stole someone's girlfriend. Looks like Eric really resented me calling him the other man, as he eagerly dumped this label on me. The internet fiercely loved on Eric, the victim bullied by me. My painful past served as nothing more than publicity for Eric's entrance into showbiz. He really played his cards well, provoking me to completely break with Judy. He played the sympathy card with Judy to push their relationship further. Then he let the paparazzi leak a scandal to warm up his career in the entertainment world. My mentor worriedly asked about my situation, and I calmly told her I would focus on preparing to study abroad. Judy called me. After a long silence, she finally spoke. "Mark, I've been with Eric these days. He's really shaken by you, and I'd like you to apologize to him. After all, we're going to be family." I couldn't help but scoff. Family? Didn't you say you were just friends with him? When did this turn into family? Judy sighed. "Don't be like that, Mark. It's only after taking care of Eric that I realized. Maybe what I had for you was just friendship from years of being together, not love. Being with you was nice, but felt bland, like water. But with him, every day is intense and exciting. Maybe like your names, you're the calm night stars, and he's the bright and bold sun." Couldn't help but fall for him. Hearing this is one thing. Hearing it from Judy's mouth is another. I stayed silent and hung up. Judy didn't speak for me, but her mom came to support me and even went online to say I wasn't the other man and would sue anyone who defamed me. I'm going abroad soon, so I left everything to her. I cried uncontrollably in her arms. She gently patted my back. "It's my fault for letting you down." I shook my head. "In this world, you've been the best to me. I'm the one who let you worry." So I went abroad to study early. Public opinion can destroy you. I couldn't withstand the internet's power. I didn't want to make myself suffer again. Besides, I took a class on public relations once. When dealing with such a huge scandal, the simplest and most effective way is to stay silent and let it pass. Don't let things escalate further and become fuel for Eric's career. Overseas, things were calm, and I focused on my studies. Judy's a genius, no doubt, but getting into the same school as her proves I'm no slouch either. Maybe I'm not as gifted in physics as she is, but my keen perception of the world ensures I'll have achievements in the social sciences. She may have stopped moving forward, but I won't. The academic environment abroad suited me better, and I proposed many ideas praised for their creativity. My professor praised me, "You've got a talent." I thanked him for his praise, living happily and comfortably in a foreign land. Sometimes I'd call Judy's mom. She always avoided mentioning Judy, but some details couldn't be hidden. Judy gave up the opportunity for further studies abroad for Eric. Even when top universities offered her a position, she declined. She even gave up pure research in a college setting. To gain Eric's parents' approval and marry Eric, she joined his family company. Walking with Eric through the business world, amid the wine and revelry. In winter, Judy's mom suddenly got sick. I hurried back home to care for her frail figure. "Judy, wait, let me explain. Stella isn't who you think she is. I only see her as my sister." The hospital was supposed to be quiet, but Eric's voice was loud. Through the door, I heard Judy's controlled anger. "Stella's your sister? Nina's your junior in the entertainment industry? Why do you have so many close women? Can't you live without them?" I suddenly found it amusing. If Eric wasn't this kind of person, how could you have replaced his fiancée, Judy? I pushed the door open. "What are you doing here?" Eric looked at me, shocked. Judy suddenly calmed down. "Mark, you're back home? I don't want to talk much with them. Judy's mom is seriously ill, and I don't want them bothering her while she's trying to recover. Eric's the new hotshot in the entertainment world these days. Super busy." He took one look at Judy's mom and then just left quickly. That left Judy all alone. "How are you doing?" I tilted my head slightly and looked at her. The business world seems to have smoothed her out. That sharp genius energy she used to have is nearly gone. If you don't hold on to it tightly, your spirit and talent can just slip away. These days, she seems tired and irritable. I nod, letting her know everything's going great for me abroad. Mark, I'm kinda envious of you, she says. You can still immerse yourself in your own world, simple and happy. I respond without thinking, you could have too, but you gave that up for Eric. She just stands there, stunned, and then chuckles bitterly. Yeah, I gave up everything for him. But what about him? What does he consider me? Judy turns her head to look at me. I'm sorry, Mark. I shouldn't have done what I did back then. I shake my head. Stop it. Even if you say it, I won't forgive you. Under my careful care, Judy's mom gradually gets better. She starts chatting with me about the past. But when Judy and I come up, she quickly steers the conversation away. Oh, I used to hope I'd see you two get married, she sighs. In the end, it was Judy who missed her chance. Now, I purse my lips, silent. Eric's visited a few times, always ending up fighting with Judy. You think I'm fooling around with those women? What about you? Don't think I don't know you only came here to see Mark, he yells. All these years, you haven't let him go. Judy presses her brow, trying to stay calm. I don't want to fight with you. Eric storms out furiously, yelling, then don't be with me. Let's call off this wedding. Judy looks up, catching sight of me just passing by. In a hoarse voice, she asks, Mark, did I really make a mistake back then? I regret it so much. You have no idea. Eric's personality is not something most people can handle. It's true, Eric's a jerk. He gets a thrill watching women fight over him. It makes him feel important. He thinks he's the main character of the world, and everyone else should revolve around him. He loves seeing someone high and mighty falling for him, and he loves seeing the naive girls fall for him too. Always enjoying nightlife, he gets Judy through all sorts of trouble. She's worn out by his spoiled behavior. She looks up at me and says, Mark, if we hadn't broken up back then, do you think we'd be happy now? I think of a line from a TV drama I shared with my professor overseas. Delayed affection is as cheap as grass. Once Judy's mother's health is completely restored, I say my goodbyes and prepare to head back overseas for my studies. Before I leave, Judy comes to see me off at the airport. Is it going to be hard to see each other again? Can we, hug one last time? I take a step back, my expression cold. Judy, from the moment you spilled everything about me to Eric, there's nothing left between us. Please don't make me sick. Her hand lowers without touching me, the light in her eyes dwindling away. It's not me. Never mind, Mark, just be happy, she says, and I head to the plane without looking back. Back abroad, I throw myself into academic research again. But after I returned home this time, Judy often sends me gifts from home. If I'd received them when we were together, I'd be ecstatic. But now I just toss them all away. My professor sees this once and cries out in dismay. So I end up giving everything to him. Judy's mom tells me, Eric's fought with Judy several times over this. The atmosphere's so tense, it's almost physical. Judy's health isn't great already, and she got sick because of this. She sighs repeatedly. But in my heart, I think, isn't this crazy and intense love just what Judy and Eric wanted? They had a tender, peaceful relationship before, but they didn't cherish it. Day after day goes by until suddenly Judy's mom calls me in the middle of the night. Mark, Judy got into a car accident. Judy intercepted another car on the highway. In the car were Eric and his ex-fiancée. The paparazzi caught it all on camera and put it online, creating an uproar. The two were fighting on an overpass. Cars sped by one after another, until one couldn't swerve in time and hit them. The other driver died on the spot. Judy's in the ICU now. Judy's mom is beside herself with panic, begging me to come back home. So I book a flight and rush back overnight. At the ER entrance, Eric's giving me a dirty look. What the hell are you doing here? I swear you're pathetic. Judy told you herself she didn't want you, but here you are sucking up. I couldn't be bothered to give him any attention. Eric, haven't you noticed everything is all over the news? Yet you've got time to stand here talking trash? Blocking traffic on an overpass like that, a serious incident. This is blowing up online, and public opinion can drown him in spit. Eric's rivals seize the moment, dumping all his dirt at once, including the truth Judy's mom has been desperately trying to clarify for years about me. Only then do the netizens realize. I wasn't the homewrecker. The real one is Eric. And he had the gall to turn around and pin all the blame on me. Public backlash is brutal. The rich and fancy image he cultivated is now seen as a fall from grace narrative of a villain. He grits his teeth in anger. It's all your fault. You old hag. You bitch. If not for you too, why would I be so hated? I go over to Judy's mom, who looks completely lost, and hold her up. Hearing Eric's words, she gets so upset suddenly. Who's the bitch? You're the despicable one. If you hadn't cheated, would my daughter have been in the accident? If anything happens to my daughter, you're nothing but a murderer. Eric fires back. Your daughter's just a freak with control issues. What's it to me? The doctor comes out to put a stop to their yelling. Judy's mom fights back tears, clinging onto my arm. We wait forever until the doctor finally comes out. The patient is no longer critically injured. Judy's mom just starts to smile when he continues. However, she's sustained brain injuries. Her condition needs to be monitored. There might be a series of after effects, so please be mentally prepared for them. The car accident left Judy with 11 broken bones and a fractured skull. Although her life was saved, the after effects might be harder for Judy to bear than death. She only woke up from a coma 2 months later. I brought the chicken soup cooked by Judy's mom to her. She sat on the hospital bed, slightly trembling. Scattered around were pages from the papers Judy had published while studying physics. Back then, she was an admired genius, proud and untouchable. Now her eyes were full of pain and broken. Mark, I can't understand this anymore. I know I wrote this, but it all looks like gibberish to me. She had injured her brain. The talent heaven gave her was taken back. The way she instinctively understood advanced math is gone. Now, even elementary math she mastered at 7 or 8 seems like an enigma to her. The sacred gates of the physics world are forever closed to her. Without her talent, she's just a burden to the company. The aura is gone. Eric is also in deep trouble. The government demands a crackdown on performers with bad behavior, banning him from profiting in the entertainment industry. And the storm isn't over. Due to the malicious act of blocking roads with an overpass, people are calling for a thorough investigation of Eric and Judy's company. What they uncovered was significant. The company was plunged into chaos. With everything happening, Eric cared less and less about her, completely ignoring her. Judy was utterly abandoned. But what does any of this have to do with me? I took care of Judy's mom and flew back abroad to focus on my own thesis. Another thesis defense, where my advisor praised me just like my advisor did back home. You have a unique perspective on social issues, and they are highly valuable. Remember, your thoughts might change the world just like all the great thinkers before you. I smiled and thanked him. Back home, I accepted an invitation from my alma mater to teach. While speaking on stage, I spotted a familiar figure in the audience. I didn't pause, completing my presentation fluently and confidently. The audience erupted in applause. Backstage, a once familiar voice called out to me, "Mark." I wasn't unaware of Judy's situation from her mom. Judy had pleaded with the school to let her continue participating in physics research projects, but she was politely declined. Physics is a field that highly values talent, and Judy lost her opportunity to enter that door forever. But she, as a person, always seems to appreciate things only when they are lost. Just like she's facing me now. Today is my thesis defense day. I turned. What do you need? Judy now looked weary and worn, no longer the confident image of the past. Mark, I'm sorry. I truly know I was wrong. I just wanted to apologize. I didn't look back, walking straight ahead. I won't forgive you, nor do I wish to see you again. Outside, former classmates and friends were waiting to celebrate my return. I refused to be trapped in the shadows of the past. A bright future awaits me.